Hello, everyone, and welcome to our In Conversation series, a series exploring the makings of our exhibitions. In this case, we're talking about Deep Fakes, Art and Its Double, an exhibition at EPFL Pavilions, Amplifier for Art, Science, and Society at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, EPFL Lausanne. My name is Monica Antohi. I am the communications lead with EPFL Pavilions, and today I have the honor of welcoming Patrick Michel, Senior Lecturer, Institute of Archeology and Classical Studies, University of Lausanne, and the manager for the collart-palmyre project, and one of our collaborators for Deepfakes Art and Its Double exhibition. Hello, Patrick, and welcome to the In Conversation series.
Hello, Monica. Thank you very much.
So glad to have you here today. The conversation is going to be exciting, I know, because we've been talking about it for a while. And I want to dive directly right into it. So who is Patrick Michel, and why are you in charge of the Palmyra collart-palmyre project?
So I'm, as you said, a senior lecturer at University of Lausanne. I did a PhD in Near Eastern Studies, Languages and Archaeology of Ancient Near East. And when I was a student at the University of Lausanne, Professor Pierre Ducret asked me to take care of the archive of Paul Collart, who was an archaeologist at the University of Lausanne and whose heirs have donated the archive of the father to the university after his death. And it's a huge archive with thousands of black and white pictures from Syria and Lebanon. And we have a very important archive about the Belgian temple of Palmyra that has been destroyed in 2015. And that's the reason why we decided to create this project of research at the University of Lausanne, working on the archive of the Swiss archaeologist Paul Collart to produce digital replicas of the destroyed temple based on the archive, because this temple was excavated by Paul Collart and the Swiss team in the 50s of last century.
Let's do a quick preview of that. Maybe you can talk us through it a little bit, just a very short preview. What do we have here?
So here you see a photogrammetry done by drone. So it's a scan of the area of the temple that was destroyed. This image was produced by Econem, and you have the anastylosis of the temple as it was before the destruction. And this is so the work that has been done together between Unil and Econem. And this is a real deep fake, because here you have two different stages. On the images, you have the destruction, and then you see the temple as it was, but you still see the destruction. So it's a double image with two different stages in the history, and we kept, even if we have the temple, the new temple that you see as a replica, we kept the destruction visible in order to keep this memory, so to never forget what happened there. And that's the reason why it seems like the temple is in transparency, so you can see through it, even if it's like a resurrection of the monument, you can still see the destruction behind. So you have two different images on the same video.
Yes, and it's quite interesting to see it now post-destruction and see all of the previous workings in it. But we have another video that I'd like to let you talk over, because it's the progression of it through time, and then it kind of builds to where we are right now. Do you think you want to tackle that one next?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Let's look at this one. So I'll let you talk about it, because I think it's important that you walk us through the whole history.
So we work on the chronology of the history of the Belgian temple, because the area of the sanctuary was used for more than 1,000 years. So at the very beginning, we are here at the end of the 2nd century BC, which is late Hellenistic period. We have a funerary monument that you can see here on the 3D model, and then you see how the whole area was reused through time. So in 25 CE, for example, you have the construction of the wall to border the whole sanctuary. And then you see how the different courtyards with columns, which are called porticos, were built, and how we prepared the construction of the temple with first an altar that was set in 115, and 130 you have the temple that is built in the middle of a courtyard, And you can see then the evolution, because this temple was, of course, reused. So we added a new porticos on the southern court, and then the blocks from the temple were used by the Byzantine in order to buy new structures, and the big courtyard was also reused. And so in the Byzantine now, you will see that the temple is the inner part of the temple is destroyed, and the blocks that you have in red in front of it were reused by the Byzantine to reshape the monument. And then going through the Islamic period, you see that the courtyard are reused for workshop and small houses. So this is very important for us to keep the whole history and the various identities and the different memories linked to the sanctuary that was used, as I said, for more than 1,000 years. So playing with the timeline, you can go through time and see how the area was occupied, how spaces was used, and how the morphology of the temple and the whole sanctuary changed through times, depending on the people using the place, of course. So it's a very powerful tool and very useful tool for research to see how it worked through time.
Yeah, and I think you get the history behind it. You get the time passing. You understand the impact of history moving with the space itself, and then you see how all of these religions go through basically the same locale. They use the same pivotal place and physical place. And you feel it by watching that little taking us through the different time periods. You understand that everything changes. Everything changes, but up to this point, this place was growing through the ages. Right now, it doesn't. It's a pile of rubble, basically. So I would like to take a couple of minutes to actually show that video, show the video of basically what it looks like today with the photogrammetry and the projections on top of that. Bear with me. We're going to watch it, and we're going to come back right after it and discuss more in depth why is it such an important piece in the deepfakes art and double exhibition. Patrick, as you saw, it's quite a powerful image, quite a powerful set of images to show, and they're all being exhibited in Pavilion A and B, actually, and you have access to it in both pavilions under Deepfakes Art Double. But why is this deepfakes, and how do you think that it's we're calling it art and it's double? So how is this a double, basically?
So it's at the end, it's not one double, it's different replicas, different doubles that we have, because I said we have the tombs, and then we have the Greco-Roman, I mean, let's say the Roman temple, and then the Byzantine reuse of the temple, which was maybe not a church, but still it was reused. So we have at the end several different doubles, and each replica bears in it a specific memory. So it's linked to a specific period of time, a specific civilization. So that's why it's so important just to keep it and to remind that the history of Palmyra is a very long history. It's not only the classical period, and we have to keep this in mind because the history of Palmyra is so multicultural. It's so rich and dense, and this is very important for people to keep in mind, especially for the young generation, to have this in mind, that they are the heirs of several different culture people living together. So that's why it's very important. And those are, of course, replicas. So it's really doubles, because the material, the scientific archive, the archaeological archive that was used is so accurate and so precise, and we have so many documents that we really were able to reproduce something that doesn't exist anymore. And this is very useful because playing with the timeline, you can see something that you will never be able to see in real. It's only the digital replicas that allow you to go and view and really watch to the evolution through time of a very monument, century after century. And this is something you will never see in real. First of all, because archaeologists destroyed and doing archaeology is destroying the surface and the part of the monument, because then you make a choice. We keep the Roman temple, so we get rid of the Byzantine structure, for example. So this is a choice. So playing with the doubles and the replicas give you the possibility to see the monument at different period of its life. So this is why it's so powerful, and why it is really useful to have.
Patrick, in terms of impact, emotional and cultural impact, where do you think this stands? We're inviting the Arabic community to come visit, so we can engage with, so we can present something that we think it's powerful. But how do you think that it translates? Yes, we're not in Palmyra. We're not there. The whole temple is destroyed. The whole meaning. It could be at stake. Is it at stake? Do you think it carries emotional weight? Seeing these images from Palmyra?
I mean, we tried, and we worked with Syrian refugees and Syrian in Switzerland and in Turkey and in Istanbul, and we did a sociological study. So we hired sociologists working in the project, and we asked the people, what do they think about the work? What do they think? How do they feel about these images? So obviously, there is an emotional power of those images, because it recalls to something that happened. It recalls to the destruction. It recalls to the lost. So it's a way to never forget. It's a way to still think of what is lost and how it was destroyed. So it's kind of a negative emotion, because then you can feel angry, you can feel sad. But at the same time, this is something that is useful as a first step in order to transmit that kind of memory. So people being refugees in northern Jordan, or people living outside Syria for more than 10 years now, face the problem of how do we share this heritage, our history, with our children? How can we transmit this memory and keep it as a part of our identity? So this kind of models in the VR, because we have also an immersive VR experience, is one step in order to help people to speak about the history, to speak about the monument, to speak about what happened, but also to try and keep an image of what it was and how it looks like. And when you have a VR experience, you are in the monument in one-to-one scale, so you can also feel how huge it was, how beautiful it was. But nevertheless, it's just one monument among others, and you will not get the real feeling of how it was to be in Palmyra, surrounded by all the ancient monuments, surrounded by columns, walking in the sand, seeing the light of the sun. And this is what Hassan Ali in this part of the exhibition is saying to the visitors. He's saying, okay, this is useful, this is nice, but this is nothing compared to the experience of what is or what was Palmyra.
Yeah, but that's the case no matter what you do. Being there, it's sometimes you can't replicate that. Doesn't matter how close we get with digital technologies. Like you said, the walking in the sand feeling, we're not there technologically. With VR, with even with the metaverse, we're not there yet. We can't jump into this digital world and just feel like we're there. There's no sun on our skin, like you said. There's no dryness in the air. Temperature is not the same. So yes, besides the not feeling the being there presence kind of thing, you were talking about the transmitting heritage, the having the option to show something to the next generation that they're going to miss. They've completely missed because it doesn't exist anymore. But it's culturally impactful for that culture. It's massively it's in their genes. They carry it. So from that point of view, what do you think this represents? Like having the opportunity to see something. Because we have Notre Dame de Paris there, and it's burned down. We have we have the virtual experience of Notre Dame de Paris. We don't have the Notre Dame de Paris; it's being rebuilt. But right now, it's not accessible. And I'm not saying it's the same impact, but we're talking about a lot of cultural, a lot of religious institutions that are destroyed by nature or terrorism or cultural forces that seem to stay alive in our culture through digitization. How does this fit in that? Like, how are we talking? We're talking about heritage. We're talking about longevity. We're talking about impact across many generations. What do you think this stands?
So I think it's a useful tool because it gives you the possibility to get back to what it was and to have an image of what it was. So then you can look at pictures, but pictures is a smaller and it's 2D. Working with 3D, working with replicas give maybe a better impression of how the monument was. And it's a real way, it's a real mean in order to keep this memory and to transmit it. So you can then link orality and speeches and memories, so to invite people to talk about their own experience with the monument. But then you can have all this memory, all these feelings linked to something that you can show, something that you can look at. And the first idea of doing that based on our archive was because at the very beginning of the war, when Syrian people arrived in northern Jordan, we noticed that some of them recreated models, very small replicas, using what they found in the camp. So that was small pieces of wood, plastic. They just use it what they could find in the camp, and they reproduces like very small scale monument, iconic monument of Palmyra. And when you ask them why are you doing that, they say because we want to have something to show to our children when we speak about what was Palmyra and so on, blah blah blah. We need to show something. And then we said, okay, so we have the technologies, we have money, we have the archive, we have the possibility. Why not producing something that could help them doing what they need? So this is the way I think it's very useful. Even if Palmyra obviously is a part of Syrian identity and is very important, but Palmyra has two faces. As you know, we also always have to mention that there were a prison in Palmyra, and that it was a very important site in terms of history and tourism, but for some people it was also a very difficult place to be in because of this prison. But whatever, it's important to have something to show, and an image linked to a speech, linked to a memory.
Yeah. So talking about that, let's go see the images. Let's go. You and I met at the exhibit, and then we had a walkthrough to talk about exactly how everything is placed and why all of those individual installations are there to support what you just mentioned. So let's go to that part of the interview, and we'll come back after.
Okay, Patrick, so let's walk a little bit around the exhibit and see, what it's all about. What do we have here?
So here, first of all, we have examples of what we have in the archive. So we have drawings and plans when you can see the temple. And here you have a sample of black and white pictures. So as I said, we have thousands of pictures. And all those documents have been digitized and in this installation. So you have the access on the online database, and you can see and discover more than 4,000 pictures. So you can play here with the screen and choose a picture from the archive. And so all those documents that are here, so we have exactly 4,970 pictures, black and white pictures from the archive. So you can select and open the file. You have the whole description, the reading of the inscription, or in Aramaic, local Aramaic, Palmyrenian, or in Greek. And so all the documents in the database is the documents that have been used in order to produce this. So this is, as I said, the photogrammetric relevé, so the scan made by Iconem in Paris. And on the top of this horrible vision of the destruction, you have the rebuilt temple that is in transparency. So as I said, so you can still keep the memory of what happened, but the reconstruction here is based on our documentation and our interpretation of the documentation. And then if we move here, this is the timeline I was speaking about. So we begin here in the late Hellenistic period, and going through time, you see when the temple was built in 130, 131. And you can play with the screen to see it better or bigger. And then, as I said, it was reused during the Byzantine. So what happened, they dismantled a part of the temple to reuse the blocks that you see in red here in the front. And during the Islamic period, you have the whole courtyard that was reused with workshop and small houses. And here you have the explanation about all colors. And so we finish in the 12th century, so it's more than 1,000 years of history. Next step now. We have produced an interactive map of Palmyra. And you can be as a tourist or a visitor on the site of Palmyra. So you begin with the general view and you have some point of interest. So if you want to go and see the monumental art, for example, so you just click on the screen and then the interactive map will show you exactly where the monumental arch, which was a door, is located, and it is obviously today destroyed. And then you can see pictures on the right side of the screen, and all the black and white pictures are from the archive of Paul Collart. So what is interesting here is you have the possibility to geolocalize the archive of Paul Collart and to travel through the whole site. Obviously, most interesting is the Baal Shamin temple. So you go to the area where the Baal Shamin temple is. Welcome. And on the left side, you have the plan of Paul Collart, so you can just compare to see where the temple is, where the temple was, because it's nowadays destroyed. And then you can see several pictures linked to the monument. So if you want to see some inscription that have been found in this area, you just open on the pad. So you see here a black circle showing you a specific stone, which is an altar with a Greek inscription, and then you have the detail of this altar with the inscription and the possibility to read the translation in French or into English of this specific element of the temple. And so it's the same for the whole site of Palmyra. We briefly spoke about the Bell Temple, so we can go back to the whole map and travel now to the Bell Temple. Here we're moving to the Bell Temple, that obviously is also destroyed today, but you see that on the right side you have still a house that is the last house remaining from the village that was dismantled by the French archaeologists in 1930 in order to allow the excavation to happen. And then you can obviously see how the temple was before the destruction, and you can see the specific house that was used by archaeologists when they were digging in Palmyra. They were living there, and so you have the black and white picture of this house and where it's located exactly. So you can travel for hours, let's say, through the site of Palmyra and see how rich and precise the archive of Paul Collart is. So this is basically the work based on the archive and how we were able to produce the 3D model and how we can give access to this information in a geolocalized way. But this is not everything. So as I said, our mon souci, how to say that? Our worry, thank you, was about memory. And that's the reason why here in the last part of the exhibition you have real quotes from the interviews made with Syrian people about the memories of Palmyra, the importance of heritage for cultural identity, the reaction to the 3D modeling, because so the people had to face the 3D model and they tried the VR experience. So we have here quotes, for example, for the reaction on the 3D modeling, saying it's more the overall view of the city that interests me. It's the columns, it's the desert, it's the sunset. In fact, for me, Palmyra is a half-destroyed city in the desert. For it to be representative, there has to be this idea, not just one place. I would never have guessed that this is Palmyra. So here we have a critique that is very important for us about our work, how our work could be useful for the transmission of this cultural memory. And that's the reason why at the beginning of the exhibition you have a video of interviews with Hassan Ali, a colleague and friend of mine, an archaeologist from Palmyra that nowadays lives in Istanbul, Turkey. And we had like a conversation, so it's an interview, and you can listen to his memories for the importance for him of that kind of heritage and his own reaction as a Syrian from Palmyra and an archaeologist about the use of 3D modeling and the VR.
Patrick, that was a nice tour de force through the actual exhibition. But one final question for you. This was an idea. This is an idea representing ideas. This is an idea that's digitizing something that was physical, and it's becoming all virtual, basically. The exhibition brings it back to physicality, brings it back to touching. You can actually touch, you can actually hear, you can actually see, you can be present, and you can be surrounded by it. How does this fit with your idea of the installation? How does that fit for you? How bring it all back to here and now fit with your concept for it.
So it gives you access to it, but maybe you cannot have this physical contact with it. So it's just a way to see or to remember and to have access to this heritage, but also to remember that you will never get physical access to it anymore. So it's a way to show how powerful all those tools could be for research, for rising awareness, to transmit memory, but also our incapacity of getting back on times to recreate something that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, sometimes people ask me, oh, okay, based on your work, do you think a physical reconstruction is possible? I mean, of course it's possible, but you will use a huge amount of new material. So then the question of authenticity, of aura of the object appears, and then we are out of science and out of research. We are dealing with philosophy. What does it mean to have access to a reconstructed monument or hardly restored monument? So here there is a limit in this part of the exhibition, when you see that the concept have an application for research, for memory, for dealing with local communities. But for now, we cannot go further. We cannot offer a physical feeling, and then there is an emotional part, and everyone will have a very personal experience with various feelings and emotion. So I can just invite people to go there and have a conversation with Hassan Ali, that is here talking to you. This is the interview we had with him. Then you just discover the 3D model, and then you ask yourself questions about the meaning of that and what it is, and at the end you can read answers and quotes of the people that have been interviewed in this project, just to see, okay, what is the meaning of that, and is it useful? Is it useless? Do you like it? What are your emotion, and how do you feel about this replicas? Why is it a deep fake for you?
Great questions to end the conversation on. Those are specifically conversations for our viewers and for everybody that's visiting, because it's art and heritage. It impacts us personally. So, and it impacts us personally in a different way, depending from going from person to person. So it's, some people might be, touched by walking through the timeline. Some people might be touched by seeing the notes from the archaeologists, yes, from the middle of last century. There's specific things that, and you never know what's going to trigger an emotional response, and it's about creating a relation to the objects themselves, to the idea of the object themselves, in this case to the cultural object, and maybe carrying that heritage to the next generation. Yeah, but I want to say a huge thank you to Patrick for today. I want to say thank you for everybody joining us on today's conversation for Deepfakes ArtNet's Double in Conversation series with all the collaborators. Well, some of the collaborators for our exhibition, and again, huge thank you to Patrick Michel, senior lecturer under the archaeology school at University of Lausanne. He's been a tremendous help, not just today, but during the organization of the exhibition. And yeah, I want to say thank you again, and Patrick, we'll see you next time.
See you. Thank you so much for this moment. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye.